Haj, kako je ona verzija dokumentarca ispala malo preeksplicitna, evo, sada ćete moći vidjeti malo čedniju verziju.
Ljubi tutti Nenzi! Ljubi tutti Nenzi! Ljubi tutti Nenzi!
Welcome to Overthinking Eurovision. I'm Matt Rather, and I have read your many comments demanding that we cover Croatia's song, Mama Shh. Sorry it took us a few weeks, but we had to figure out how to pronounce Shh. Am I doing it right?
Mama kupila traktora. Mama kupila traktora.
So let's start with those two letters. Where did they come from? Well, it all started with Damir Motinovic, Let Three's bassist and one of the two members who have been with the group since it formed in 1987. In an interview with the Croatian site Index Her, Damir explained that in February of 2021, he decided to see how long he could balance an Adidas sneaker on his head, which is totally a normal thing for a 59-year-old man to do. Now, according to Damir, I put the shoe on my head and tried to stay calm for as long as possible so it wouldn't fall off my head. I said, shh, to calm my body. And that video garnered over 100,000 views.
Shh! Shh!
Then, in October 2021, Damir partnered with the Lepi Dečki microbrewery to create Shh Beer, a blonde ale that has been described as a little weird at first, which seems about right. So, shh is sort of a post-pandemic catchphrase for the band. They've told reporters that shh could be a blood type, a mantra, or the sound someone makes when they climax. They also said it's part of an alphabet more than 5,000 years old, and they plan to put it on the side of a rocket and send it to space so that after human civilization is destroyed and the rocket finally returns to Earth, shh will be the only letters that remain. And when asked how English-speaking Eurovision fans, like me, were going to pronounce it, Damir said, "We've adapted throughout our history to some things. Let them adapt a little. They will learn." So right off the bat, we kind of get the impression that these guys are pranksters, yucking it up at the idea of poor Graham Norton frantically downloading Duolingo right before the broadcast.
Oj dužine I širine, ekvatori paralele.
The English-speaking world has remained largely unaware of Let 3, despite their 36 years making music. On their Wikipedia page, the section on history consisted of 127 words in early February. 69 of those words, nice, were about Eurovision. But then there's a section on controversies. That had 343 words, and each and every sentence is a delight. Their fifth album, which translates to Unheard Of, was a CD that was completely blank. They still sold 350 copies. Their sixth album, Jedina, translates to The Only One, and they indeed made only one CD. They played it on the radio, but refused to sell copies. When the record label distributed it anyway, the band staged a bloody fake suicide by firing squad right in the central square of Croatia's capital. You could spend hours reading about the band's exploits, and you might start to suspect that maybe the music isn't important to these guys. Maybe being a band is just an excuse to behave like Germans in Mallorca. But once you get past Let 3's nudity, outfits, album titles, etc., these guys are actually really interesting musically. Their first two albums were straight rock, with a bit of a psychedelic twist. But then the band started to evolve. For their third album in 1994, they worked with local folk musicians to fuse traditional instrumentation with rock. Their 2000 album, Jedina, was the one that the band hadn't wanted to release at all. Ironically, that turned out to be their biggest commercial success. The songs Drama and Professor Yakov get radio play even now. Jedina also won a prestigious Croat music award, the Porin, for Best Alternative Album. Their next album took 3 years to make. Released in 2005, Bombardment of Serbia and Čačak is a dizzying blend of folk, rock, electronic, metal, and whatever other kinds of music they felt like including. It won Porin Awards for Rock Album of the Year and also Best Music Video. Take a look at the band's page on Radio Scraper, a website that tracks playlists on all the major Croatian radio stations. You can see that their songs are played an average of about 5 times a day. Compare that to, like, Green Day, and you'll see that Let 3 actually gets played more over there. Now, outside of Let 3, Damir Martinovic, he's the TikTok shoe balancer, also makes indie pop music with his wife, Ivanka Mazurkiewicz. Together, they did the score for the movie Cowboy, a bittersweet comedy about an amateur theater group. It's like a Croatian waiting for Guffman. Cowboy was Croatia's submission for the 2013 Oscars, and Damir and Ivanka did an adorable music video to promote it.
On my dying life, I swear,
In 2017, Damir and Ivanka composed a score for the silent film Tuvalu. It involved heavy audience participation, with volunteers playing handmade instruments, making noise with their cell phones, and even gargling water. And on top of that, Damir is an accomplished visual artist. In 2010, he decorated the inside of an abandoned paper factory with fluorescent paint to create a psychedelic venue for the annual Hartera Music Festival. So he's an interesting dude. Maybe the most interesting dude in all of Croatia. But where did Mama come from? Well, in the summer of 2022, Damir and Ivanka did the music for a new play called Lysistrata. The show, performed in a 16th century monastery, was an adaptation of the comedy by the ancient Greek playwright Aristophanes, in which the women refuse to have sex with the men until they end a destructive war. After the play was finished, the director, Paolo Magelli, approached Damir with an interesting offer. Magelli came up with the idea of making a project out of all the music made within that play that would be like some kind of war opera. Then, as part of that, Mama was later created. We have all the music now. It's kind of a broader picture of the story around Mama song. So this song's similarities to Incorpore Sano go beyond its avant-garde theatricality. If you watched our video about Constracta's song, you will recall that it was written to be the middle section of a triptych, 3 songs on connected themes. Mama as well is only a piece of a larger work still to come later in 2023. Maybe it will have even more consonants. The inspiration for the song came out of Damir's research for Lysistrata. The play incorporates the work of Croatian writer Predrag Lucic, and Damir did a deep dive into Lucic's body of work. That included a group of songs that he wrote for a Croatian production of Mother Courage and Her Children in 2013. So, okay guys, one more step down the rabbit hole, and then we bring this home. Mother Courage is a 1939 Bertolt Brecht play about a merchant who follows around the Swedish army during the 30 Years' War. She's trying to profit off the never-ending carnage. Spoiler alert, it doesn't go well for her, and especially not for her children. So the play is strongly anti-war, written by a German refugee just at the outset of World War II. So how does this connect to Mama Well, one of Lucic's original songs for the Croatian adaptation begins, "Buy me mama, one little war."
Kupi mi mama, jedan mali rat, kakav nitko nema.
It was this song that inspired Damir to write Mama These are both sinister nursery rhymes sung by children or adults with the mindset of a child who are either painfully naive or chillingly sociopathic about what war is really like. By the way, the singer here is Zoran Prodinovic, who is the other Let 3 member who has been with the band since the beginning. So, just to recap, Mama was inspired by a song that Predrag Lucic wrote for an adaptation of the Bertolt Brecht anti-war play Mother Courage and Her Children. I need a glass of water. Really though, to understand that this is an anti-war song, you don't need to know any of that. I mean, it would be clear that this is an anti-war song from a random freeze frame of the live performance. But just in case there was any doubt about which war this song was written in response to, Let 3 appeared on Croatian news show Pressing and said, "Maybe people recognized well that this song is about Putin. We want to send a message to all those who think that the planet is their toy and manage everyone like puppets. And at the moment, Putin is a prominent mannequin of that style. So it's time to dedicate a song to him." Which of course raises the question of why the EBU allowed this song in the contest. Eurovision has a rule which begins, "The ESC is a non-political event." And here's the band saying publicly that it's an anti-Putin song, but there's a simple explanation here. The EBU already made the decision to ban Russia from the contest in 2022, and that public stance changes what counts as political. When the EBU rejected the song We Don't Want to Put In 2009, it was because they didn't want to be perceived as taking sides in the Russo-Georgian War. But with Ukraine, the EBU has taken a side. Now, I'm guessing they still wouldn't let a song explicitly reference Russia, but it's our impression that as long as the lyrics are even a little bit vague, the EBU is fine with expressing anti-Putin sentiments to the press because they have done the exact same thing. And in the case of Let 3, the lyrics are more than just a little bit vague.
Mama kupila traktora.
Ah yes, the tractor. An Insta meme the band rode all the way to Liverpool. No, seriously, they posted a video of themselves riding off to Liverpool on a tractor. We've seen a lot of people speculating that this lyric is about Belarus. A very popular model of tractor in Eastern Europe is called the Belarus, which is indeed produced in Belarus. So Mama bought a tractor may mean Mother Russia controls Belarus. It also might be significant that in October 2022, right when this song was being written, Belarus's president, Alexander Lukashenko, gave Putin a tractor for his 70th birthday. That theory seemed to be confirmed in an interview with the man who is directing the music video for Mama Shch. The video is, like the whole story, anti-war. For the ones who didn't understand that the tractor is a story about a gift for Putin, I really don't know what to say. But here's our hot take. Even if the Belarus theory is true, we think the song makes more sense if you think of the tractor as simply a tractor, like for farming. Let's start out assuming that the narrator is supposed to be a child. After all, the Lucic song on which this is based is definitely from a child's point of view. So at the beginning, the child tells us his mom bought a new tractor. That's a nice, peaceful image with the promise of more food and money in the future. But one piece of symbolism we don't think is overcomplicating things is considering the mama to be a reference to Mother Russia. In that case, Mother Russia buying a tractor is a metaphor for the whole country focusing on modernization and economic production. Take a look at this chart. Russian agriculture has actually been booming over the past generation. In 2016, Russia became the world's largest exporter of wheat. But then in the second verse, Mother Russia kisses the moron. That is, for sure, a reference to Putin. And it's only after that the song erupts into chaos, with the singer declaring, "I'm gonna go play, I'm going to war." This could be that naive child character excited to ditch the farm and head off to battle, which would be completely in line with Lucic's song and Brecht's play. However, there's a parallel interpretation in which the singer is not an actual child, but a dangerously childlike ruler. We mentioned that interview the band did where they addressed the song to all those who think that the planet is their toy. Plus, look at the outfit. He could have been dressed as a 13-year-old, but instead he's presenting himself as a fascist military leader. So the guy declaring he's going to go play could easily be Putin himself. That changes things, right? Instead of the song being sung by a naive child excited to sign up for a war he'll never return from, it's being sung by a bloodthirsty dictator who looks at all these children as mere pawns in a massive game of Civilization 6. Oh, do you use pawns in Civ 6? I'm more of an Animal Crossing guy. Speaking of animals, that's when the singer turns his anger towards this mean little crocodile psychopath. Putin is only 1.7 meters tall, which is 5'7" in real measurements. He would not do well on Tinder. The song ends not with a tractor, but with a pair of missiles. The plowshares have been beaten into swords, all thanks to this psychopathic moron. And speaking of giant missiles, there's a lot going on with this staging. Let's start with the costumes. Why are they cosplaying as gay Warriors?
Wait till they get a load of me.
Russia has been cracking down on the LGBTQ community for years now. One major brick in this wall was a 2013 law which criminalizes anything that might make minors think being gay is okay. The vote was 435 lawmakers in favor, 0 against, and 1 abstaining. Interesting fact, the one Russian politician who abstained from this vote is currently fighting against Russia with the Ukrainian army. Anyway, as an online protest against this law, the gay Putin clown meme started spreading like a fabulous wildfire. In 2017, Russia actually banned this image as part of a list of extremist materials. So it's hard not to see the band's cross-dressing Generalissimo getup as an homage to this particular image. But that might be unintentional, because Let 3 has been cross-dressing for years. Here's one of their music videos from 2010. They're all dressed as the Croatian Prime Minister. So for Mama Shh, maybe it would have actually been weirder if they didn't wear dresses. As for the guy holding the missiles, he's not actually part of the band. That's Janil Tataj, another Croatian rock legend. Janil has a long association with Let 3, including an appearance on the band's acclaimed 2005 album. The word on his forehead is a scrambled version of the Croatian spelling of Lenin. This way of writing the letters out of order is called Shatrovački, basically a Slav version of Pig Latin. So that's at least some context about what this song means. But perhaps the more mysterious question is why this song won. There were 18 different songs in competition at Dora 2023. The song that came in second place, Nevera, was a sort of modern twist on traditional folk that Eurovision audiences go nuts for. Let 3 not only won, it absolutely dominated. It nearly doubled the televoting points of their closest competitor, and they won the jury by a large margin too. Now sure, Let 3 had a substantial cult following among artists, leftists, and bougie urban types, but Croatia is not a Balkan version of Portland. In June 2022, Reuters reported that Croatia's tourist-friendly Adriatic coast was finally getting a gay bar. According to the article, Balkan countries remain mostly rather conservative on social issues, and homophobia and discrimination against sexual minorities are common, often fueled by religious leaders and right-wing political parties. I'm not suggesting that Mama Shh is a gay song. Come to think of it, I'm not even suggesting there is such a thing as a gay song. But Croatia is basically a socially conservative country, and they overwhelmingly selected a band that, well, it's striking is what I'm saying. But take a look at Croatia's Eurovision performance over the past 20 years. They haven't even qualified for the finals since 2017, when they set one of the greatest gimmick songs of all time.
I pray you see the light and find your way. La forza del destino che in te.
Okay, so this one time, Overthinking Eurovision producer Matt Belinkie was in this important business meeting with like 20 people, and he randomly remembered that this song exists, and he laughed out loud so hard that everyone looked at him. He lied about it and said he was thinking of something cute his kid did. Anyway, for the Eurovision fans who still bothered to pay attention to Dora, there was a real desire to try something fresh and interesting. In fact, the idea of sending Let 3 to Eurovision was something Croatian fans have joked about on message boards, never really believing it would actually happen. It's no surprise that ratings for this year's selection show were up significantly. There's no way that voters were going to let this chance pass them by. Also no surprise, there was an immediate push by horrified Croatian conservatives to undo Let 3's Eurovision selection. An online petition got well over 1,000 votes, and a television producer who created the Dora Festival back in the 90s publicly bemoaned Let 3's selection, concluding, "May dear God help us." But we can't help but remember the backlash to Lordi's selection in 2006. An Orthodox Christian priest was quoted by the BBC as saying, "Lord have mercy on us Finnish people now." And that ended up working out pretty well for Finland. So maybe Let 3 turns out to be the next Lordi, but they also bring to mind another, much less successful Eurovision act, Rambo Amadeus, who represented Montenegro in 2012.
Euro, don't be dogmatic, bureaucratic, you need to become pragmatic to stop change, climatic, automatic, need contribution from the institution.
Euro was easy to dismiss as a wacky circus, but Rambo Amadeus was no mere clown. In 1989, he released a song called Cataclysm of Communism, in which he called for an end to the Yugoslav government. It was censored by the authorities. And his Eurovision song was also deeply political, reflecting on Europe's ongoing debt crisis and Montenegro's relationship with its Western allies. Much like Let 3, Rambo's colorful antics were backed up by decades of musical innovation, intellectual curiosity, and outspoken politics. His song certainly got some buzz, but he barely got any votes. He finished 15th in his semifinal. The question is, will Mama Shh end up as a forgotten footnote? like Euroneuro. But consider this. Euroneuro was posted to the official Eurovision channel 10 years ago, and it only has 2.7 million views. Mama got that exact same 2.7 million views in a mere 5 days. Earlier this year, we were faced with the tantalizing possibility that Ireland would be represented by the lead singer of the Sex Pistols, Johnny Rotten himself. As it turns out, Ireland went with a much more conventional choice, and besides, Johnny Rotten is more reactionary than anarchist now. But out of nowhere, Croatia has given us a band with perhaps the most punk spirit Eurovision has ever seen, even if their music sounds more glam than punk. Let 3 are provocateurs of the highest order, but they're also leftists committed to challenging the status quo. Artists should always be ahead of normal people. Otherwise, what is our function? I hate artists who are just trying to please and repeat old stuff. I'm sure Eurovision producer Martin Oosterdal is losing sleep over what these guys might say and do in Liverpool. But for the rest of us, we can hardly wait.
Long live transhumanism!
We'll you next time.